Good morning again, everyone. Welcome back again to the KSR YouTube channel. It's fabrication day on the bed of Mullet. Well, some of the tanks that are going in the bed on Mullet. So you can see Travis got some of our pieces fit up for the intercooler water tank. It's a little bit of a custom deal. Kind of fits the curvature of the wheel tubs and the curvature of the bed. So it's a little complicated, but we're plugging away on it. Should have something here mounted in the car by the end of the day, and then we also have the catch tank for everything else: the crankcase, the transmission, the rear end, transmission, the engine coolant system is all dumping into one overflow so that it will only be one valve to dump it. We're going to work on fabricating those today. Follow along, see what we're doing. Alright, so as you guys have been seeing in the time lapse, progress has continued. One thing I forgot to mention that you may have already picked up on, we painted the bed. So it's a little prettier than it was last time, and those of you that were at Cletus and Cars Indy, well, you already saw that the bed was painted, even though we haven't put it in the video yet. But that was part of our thrash last week. We do have to cut out these little, we got two spots right there and one over there. We're going to cut those out, weld in some new sheet metal, and then just dust and paint over that, and then probably make some kind of cool looking trim panel. Just have to figure out where all the trim pieces, what they're going to cover up, what they're not going to cover up. But basically that's the intercooler water tank, and the water pump will stick off to the side of it. So we've got that kind of all worked out how it's going to work. The overflow tank for the whole car is there, and then this will be the stovepipe that sticks out of the bed a little bit. So probably once we figure out where the tonneau cover is, the height of that, we'll probably trim it off, and maybe like an inch above it or something, just so it sticks out just a little bit, or maybe we'll cut it off flush. I don't know. We'll see what we want to do. But chipping away on things. Hopefully get this wired up the next day or two, as well as the rear fuel pump. The rear fuel system, all it needs is some lines run up to the front. We've got a wire with the rear harness of the car. We've got the fuel level, the activation for the larger fuel tank, the relay board for all of that. Probably going to put it either right here. So the tonneau cover is going to have a hinged area here that flips open, and then this is our lid. Ooh, that's a little snug. So this will be our lid for the ice tank. Flip it closed. Stays nice and closed. You can see it's got a lip seal around it, so it's sealed nice and tight. No more water splashing forward when Cletus is on the brakes like you see in Leroy. Little things we can fix to try and keep the car safer. But chipping away at little things like that. If we do the little rear relay board here, that's easily accessible. So all of this will be under the tonneau cover, and then we'll have a hinged area here that flips open. Might copy the hinged area over there, just so that we can, you know, say Cletus wants to throw his backpack in there, it'll be under the tonneau cover. Keep all of this stuff out of the way. You can pack light, whatever you want to put in the thing, and it's a truck and it's a car. But keep following along and we'll get some more stuff done. All right, well, we skipped around a little bit there. I was trying to get some work done. Had to go pick up one of my kids from school. She wasn't feeling very good, so didn't get quite as much done today as we thought we were going to. But you can see we got the kind of the basic tank mounted, got our feet welded on there, and see how the catch tank's going to end up there. The trim will stick up above here, and then we'll have our little pipe that sticks up. And then you can see that's the forwardmost mounting spot for the fuel cell. And we'll work out some different mounts for the hoses, some way to work those. I've got to get some clamps, some big 8L clamps to hold this up there. But pretty much the fuel lines are done. It's shifted all the way forward so that we can make the vent line from here into the tank there. This still needs to be shortened just a little bit. Our first estimate was off by just a little bit. But you can see we got a nice grommet there that'll mostly seal up the floor. And then where the tank's going over there, and then kind of did a couple of things with mocking up the water pump. And then these are our different overflows from the car. High pressure, DOT rated, high temperature 1/4 inch lines. So that's the radiator, that's the rear end, and then that's the transmission. Those will all dump back in to the tank there through some different push lock connectors. But just doing some different things to wrap this project up. Hopefully be able to test both fuel systems early next week. Get the thing on the dyno, make some boost. I do have to still make the front fuel cell. I need to put the front end back on before I mount the front fuel cell. It's just one thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing, leads to another thing. And the last clip, that was actually last Friday. Now it's Monday. And as you can tell, actually it's Monday evening. And you can see we've got some more construction work going on in the shop. So kind of disrupted us a little bit with that today, helping the construction guys kind of move the toolbox around so we could access that. But you can see some of the stuff we've gotten done back here. Like the water pump is mounted up there for the intercooler tank. So if you've got a real good eye, you see that we're missing a bung over there for the return hose. Yeah, that's on me. I miscounted when I ordered the bungs. Whoops. So that'll be here tomorrow. I get that welded up, put that all back in the car. You can see we've got a vent hooked up to the top of it. So, and it's got a breather line on it. That breather line runs around and also runs back into this tank. And we're still waiting to put that on until we figure out where the height of the tonneau cover is going to be. The vent hose is worked out, and you can see how it will reach. It'll reach the tank there, and it'll go all the way forward and reach the tank when it's up at the very front. Just like the hoses that actually feed the system, these here will reach the tank back here, and they'll also reach all the way forward up there. Our little trick for being able to move some weight around without adding any weight to the car, or if we need a lot of front ballast and we're on a really good track, like we're trying to go really fast somewhere, we just snatch that whole rear fuel system out of the car, which depending on how much fuel is in it, it's probably 30 pounds for just the tank empty, as much as 100 pounds if it's full of fuel. Just trying to build the car with all kinds of different options. Most of the wiring is done inside the car. I do have to add the valves that are going to operate the parachute handle and the shifter. I think that's going to come tomorrow. We got our trim in for the rear window today. It was on back order. Got a new one for that, and then sent it out, and it's getting powder coated to match all the trim for the rest of the car. You can see we've got our tailgate hung on it now, and still have to put the latch on there. And we are working on the lights for the tag light, the tail light. We had a little trouble finding tail light lenses, but we just found some, so hopefully they will be here before we go on our trip with the car. And getting closer and closer. So I'll run the thing up in the air, kind of show you guys what's going on underneath with some of our wiring. All right, so up under the car, this is our wiring for all of the tail lights, and it also has the power and ground in it for the transmission fan. This is going to get a Deutsch connector just so it's a lot more consistent with the rest of the car. All of these are going to come back to a plug, and then on the other side of the plug, it's going to have the harnesses that go to the corner lights, the tail lights, and also the trailer plug in the middle. And you can kind of see we've done something over there with, you know, we're not going to have the gas cap here, so we might as well do something useful there. And that's going to be a charging port. And then with a flick of this switch, be able to do a voltage check outside the car to see if we need to plug in to the charger, or if the car needs to be jumped off. This should be a lot easier to get a little assist on the battery. Obviously it's not wired up right now, but nice little carbon fiber piece. Painted the back side of the cover there, I've got some bumpers coming in tomorrow because the factory ones are obliterated. Anyway, I would probably be putting the markers on. Like for those of you that have built cars, you know that the last bit just drags on forever. Like I know some of you guys are tired of videos about Mullet. Although others of you love all the videos about Mullet. I want to get the thing done and see it out being used. Like all the projects we've got going on. It ends up being, maybe I'm just too optimistic at times, or just, it's gotta be I'm too optimistic, because something will come in, oh yeah, we can knock that out quick. And then something happens and it snowballs. The snowball effect is very real with race cars, street cars, any project you're doing. Happens all the time with dyno stuff. Oh, we have something come in, it just needs a tune, that's all it needs. Should take you an hour. And then something's weird on the dyno. And then you end up chasing this, and chasing that, and all this is falling off. And well, the injectors aren't big enough. And next thing you know, you got the car for a couple of days and you're trying to find parts to fix the things. And you schedule the time just based off of, oh, we're just gonna dyno tune the car. Well, then the stuff snowballs, and while the car's here, the car owner wants you to fix that. Well, now your schedule gets wrecked, and I don't like not helping people when I can help them, and then it ends up getting backed up and other things. Anyways, let's get back to Mullet before I go down a rabbit trail. So you can see where we've got the battery in the car. I think I've showed that. Our cutoff switch, just an electric constant duty solenoid, and wiring's a little not finished yet, but this is some of the power wires that control it. One side, the ground, or the 12 volt side of this gets controlled by the switch panel in the top of the car. So this will receive 12 volts power when the master arm is enabled. And then the back of the car is going to break the ground side so that either switch shuts the car off. And you see we've still got to do our wiring for, this is actually the wire that powers, that's going to power this. The ground, we're going to weld a ground stud right here. That'll be the ground for all of the rear accessories in the car, including the lights, including the cutoff switch, all the tail lights, all of the fan, the air pump, all that good stuff. So you can see how our crankcase tank worked out, or the hose for our crankcase tank. Welded the spout on there. This will get dropped. It's got an AN cap on it, just so that it's easier to, or just to make sure it doesn't have any leaks. It's got a tab there so it holds it nice and tight. See, it doesn't hardly move at all. This will get zip tied up as high under the car as it can be. Yep, it's a possibility it may get hit by something. You can't plan for everything when it comes to building a car. And you kind of weigh the odds, at least me, I weigh the odds of failures that are likely to happen versus failures that, you know, if they do happen, they're going to be really bad. So if this were to get hit by something, I'm sure we could find some way to patch that back together, whether it be with a regular radiator hose to put a patch on that. We'll figure out something. But with car stuff, if you talk about it, it's not going to fail, right? Or is it that if you talk about it, it will fail? I don't know. Anyways, I chose to put that under there. Yes, we could have done it up inside the car. Didn't really want to have another hose running through the car. It may be something that we change later. We'll see. But it runs up, goes through the floor, back to the box that you saw in the back of the car. These are our different vents. This is the wiring for the taillights. You can see it's just been heat shrink together, and then it's going to get routed somewhere through here. I do still have to do the rear brake lines. I'm probably going to try and do that tomorrow. Our radiator overflow line running the full length of the car. And we do have almost everything done. I'm going to leave the diaper off of it until after we dyno. Got a nice Motion Raceworks diaper for it. And we know we're going to change the oil probably after a couple of dyno pulls. So far, the alternator bracket is working well for just cranking it up. I am going to either get a longer one of these. You can see I'm kind of out of adjustment on my rod end. It's got a little bit more left in it, but I want to give that a 1/2 inch more engagement at least. 1/4 inch each side, maybe 3/8 of an inch each side. You can see the underside of our radiator mounts there. I do still have to remake that fuel cell. I plan to do that by the weekend, because this weekend we're going to dyno. Maybe Friday late, maybe Saturday. Planning to dyno the car very soon. It actually could be dynoed right now. I don't need the air system because I use shop air to run the dyno stuff. Actually, for this car, I'm going to use this onboard air, because why not? It's got an air compressor on it. Let's make sure everything works. So the wiring is nearly done. All of the fuel injection related wiring, all of the data wiring, like I said, nearly done. We've got to wire the drive shaft sensor, wire the shock sensors. The tail light harness I showed you is almost done. We do still have to fabricate the headlight harness. Headlights, turn signals, park lights, the the horn will be mounted to the front end as well. It's a street car, you gotta have a horn. But everything's kind of coming together. So I'm working on cutting the crash beams out of the doors. If any of you know G-bodies, they've got a really heavy crash beam in the door, inside of the door itself. It's kind of nerve-wracking to cut it out with the doors painted. So I'm trying to get some aluminum between the outer skin of the door and where I'm going to be cutting inside. But I've just been doing other stuff, dealing with the construction, as well as parts for some other customer projects we're trying to get ordered and found. Lots and lots and lots of stuff going on, but we're making some headway. Sorry, it's just kind of a jibber jabber video. A lot of talking, a little bit of fabrication there in the beginning of it. But next video, we should be working through going through some of the functions of the car, making sure all my like my line lock works. You know, I do some kind of trick, well, I think it's trick on some of my custom programming for how the buttons work. And like each button on the steering wheel is going to do at least 3 different things. So the right button will do trans brake. It's also the horn. It does something else too, which I don't remember. The left button is line lock during a burnout. It's bump while the trans brake is being used. And then it's boost scramble when the car is wide open throttle. Oh, the right button is also the parachute. Like to fire the parachute on top of the other safeties that are also in the parachute safety programming. But anyways, I'm gonna let you guys go. Done talking for the night. I'm ready to go home, eat some dinner, edit this video. We'll see you guys in the next one.